DJ Event Planner will change the way you manage and run your business. Streamline all of your procedures and software into one easy-to-manage system. DJ Event Planner, the ultimate online planning tool.
Hey, hello again and welcome. It is Presenter Spotlight on DJNTV. If you've been checking in on Mondays, Tuesdays, and Wednesdays, you have been learning about and meeting some of the presenters that are going to be at not Mobile Beat, but DJNTV. Mobile Beat's going to be a whole other thing in March. But what DJNTV has done is they have partnered with the Photo Booth Expo, which is happening February 24th, 25th, 26th, and 27th. At the South Point Hotel, and the Photo Booth Expo is there now. They have a lot of DJs who come to the Photo Booth Expo, so why not give a DJ track? And who better to get really great presenters and amazing people than call John Young in the Disc Jockey News and DJNTV. And tonight we're going to talk to one of those presenters. He's going to be on the main stage on Wednesday at noon, and he's going to do some amazing things for us. This gentleman's name is Ivan, is it Avalos?
Yep. Avalos.
Okay, I did it right. Ivan Avalos. But he's better known here in the Midwest as DJ SupaFly. How you doing, brother?
Good. How are you? I'm glad to be here and I'm excited for the show. We got about 3 weeks, right? Before we can, show.
Yeah, we do. I should probably go to the dry cleaner, pick up my suit.
I haven't picked out what I'm going to wear, so I've been concentrating on what I'm going to talk about.
just surprise us, man. It's going to be great. So I want to know: are you born and raised in Minnesota? That accent doesn't sound like a northern Minnesota accent. Where are you from?
Well, I'm from Texas, San Antonio area. Been in Minnesota for about 15, 16 years. Down in the southeastern side, Rochester.
Yes. And you grew up in Texas.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. So when did you start DJing? Was it while you were in Texas?
It was more of a breakdancing type of thing where we used to breakdance, and we used to be in the travel kind of competition battle type of vibe. So Texas was a very big thing about it. And sure enough, when I moved up here, decided to keep it going, started a crew in Minneapolis, and we had
wait. You can't just jump past that and not talk about how old were you when you decided you wanted to break dance?
Maybe about 10, 11 years old. So
okay.
Even to this day, there's people that I've known since middle school that ask me that question. Do you still break dance? I'm like, no, I'm too old for that now.
Yeah, you can. You just don't even want to do it. I got it.
My body can't take it. It just led to an injury. Injured my elbow, and I just couldn't, go do what I wanted to do. And so that's when I moved into DJing. So it's
just thinking about that makes my elbow hurt. So you were 10 years old, and you saw this on television?
Breakdancing, actually music videos back when MTV was actually playing music videos. Yes, I got into it ever since then, and just went to big cities where there was competitions, battles, and that's how we got into it.
So you toured with this. Did you win a lot of awards?
I kind of did. We were sponsored by Spencer Shoes at one time, so we ended up doing a few commercials for them down in the Texas.
Oh my gosh, you actually had sponsorship and everything.
Yes.
Okay, so now wait, you got commercials? They got to be out there, right? I mean, you found them.
Well, it was back in the era where there wasn't any cell phones.
Oh, okay.
So even my parents, they wanted to record it, but they couldn't know how to control the VCR. So yeah, but it was a great time.
It's probably out there somewhere. We just do a little search, and I'm sure we can find it.
Yes.
So now you had an injury. When did that happen?
That was maybe 16, 17.
16, and then you're still in Texas, or had you moved to the cities?
I had moved up here.
Okay.
Actually, I fell on ice. Can you believe that? I literally slept.
The breakdancer slipped on ice.
Oh no! I was literally going to the studio to practice, and outside there's a big patch of ice. But I slipped and fell, and I injured my elbow.
Oh my gosh!
Sad story. Yes, I know, and that started my DJ career. So can't be mad about it. I mean, I occasionally still dance. I'm Hispanic, Latin, so I know how to dance pretty much.
I don't necessarily need your elbow to dance, but you do need it if you want to do the stuff you were doing.
Yeah.
Okay,
definitely.
So you started DJing. Who said you should try to DJ? What happened?
It was, when we would do shows and all that, it was all mostly dependent on me being the leader and just kind of creating the mixes for it. And back then there was, software, PC DJ. We used Tractor, anything to record mixes. There was Cool Edit, Ableton had definitely. Audition was the biggest software that I definitely got to use, and that's how we put the mixes together. Basically, just to do that, and I just having that experience for with DJing with all that, or not DJing, but producing music that way. I was like, you know what? I have that knowledge. I just need to get the right equipment to do it. And so enough that.
How did you get that right equipment?
Living in the Midwest, it's kind of hard to get some of this equipment. So raising money for it was definitely a challenge. But there was that part in where it changed your mind. Where what equipment is that pushed me through into becoming a good DJ and all that. So at first, I sometimes I don't like to admit it, but it was virtual DJ that was definitely there that helped me because I have no back then there was no sound cards, there was no way of mixing, listening to the output, the cue, and all that. So virtual DJ was definitely one of the first softwares that I was able to DJ. And just sitting here, I'm literally in downtown Rochester, just a couple blocks away is where we actually had our first club gig, and that's literally where I started using virtual.
So your first gig was a club.
Yeah, yep.
And you were 16?
I was about 17, 18, somewhere around there, yeah.
Did they know you were 17, 18?
Yes, they knew I was pretty young. I was definitely pretty young. And it was a Latin gig too, so a lot of Spanish music as well.
Yeah.
But virtual DJ was definitely there. How I got to know the whole mixing part of it. And, like I said, being in the Midwest, hard to, find those types of products, those types of those mixers that you don't have, like if you were to go down to Vegas, and of course there's going to be a famous DJ or guitar or big stores like that. So
okay, so you got your first gig, you're 17, 18 years old. You're still living at home, I'm assuming, right?
Yeah.
Doing anything else? I mean, what's actually paying the bills?
Well, currently I'm doing the full-time gig every Friday, Saturday with just DJing. We run a Latin night on Saturdays here. We get a good crowd. We get about 150 plus every Saturday. So it's it definitely, it's a cover charge. So all that money goes into us and promoting and all that. So we're teamed up with the group from the cities as well. I don't know if you've ever heard of the Mansion. The owner from those clubs actually has some properties here in Rochester. Mm-hmm. So brought along the gigs and brought along a lot of the connections that I made up in Minneapolis for breakdancing as well, because a lot of the DJs up there in the Twin Cities areas, a lot of them turned DJs as well. So definitely kept those connections, and here we are now, just doing it every Saturday, and do a lot of weddings, you know, during fall season. Just basically,
how much of what you're doing is mobile versus the club stuff?
I think it's half and half, honestly. During the winter, you know, of course, up here being, you know, very cold, we tend to slow down, of course, and do a lot of the club bar gigs during the winter, and then during spring, you know, the wedding comes along, and sure enough, there'll be times where I'll do the main dances and at a wedding, play a little bit of music, and then I'll just head to the bar right after, start DJing right after that. So
yeah. When you started out doing clubs, I know when guys do that, usually they find a job working for the owner, right? They go to the bar, they say, "Oh, you have gear,
yeah,
and I'll be your DJ," and then you end up being an employee of the owner and of the club itself. Are you doing more? I am in subcontracting, coming in and producing and promoting, or are you also working with some places on as an employee?
No, not as an employee. I worked at the Mayo Clinic, and that's what Rochester's known for, is the Mayo Clinic.
What do you do at the Mayo Clinic, brother?
I was a delivery supervisor, just working.
Working at Mayo Clinic, man, that's like being an angel in the world. There's nothing small about that. That's a big deal.
It's a big deal, yeah. It's considered the best hospital in the world, and we ended up actually ended up getting a lot of gigs through them as well. There's a lot of the doctors that still hire me for the private parties. Just had one about a couple weeks ago. Literally Mayo Clinic, when the Super Bowl was here, was able to do some other parties as well, because they were a big part of the Super Bowl last year. It was definitely having those big connections in especially in a small town like in Rochester. Definitely helped me get, you know, big connections out in the country as well. So not sure.
Did you invent the way that you did your business, or did you talk to somebody? Did they give you any idea on how to go out and do this in a real way?
No, I learned it all just by, you know, YouTube and just watching everybody, and a big part of the DJ news here definitely has helped me out throughout the years. There's like I said, it's never been how do you say, a better time in this time to learn about DJing, because you can basically know all the details, any specific thing you want to learn out in the internet. And you know, and when
you can learn that on the internet, but what you don't learn is kind of what you were doing without thinking, with the business end of it. There's if there's a million DJs out there, there's 999,000 million of them are not making any money. Okay, especially the club guys. The bar guys, it's difficult. There's a small 1% of those guys that are knowing how to make money in a real way to be able to do it for a living. And you kind of fell into that. What do you have? If you had one piece of advice for one guy who's doing really well, he's a great DJ and people like him, but he's not making any money, and he wants to keep doing it, but he's not making any money. What's the first thing he ought to do to kind of change his stars at all?
Honestly, for me, it's been just being humble about, you know, talking to people, because honestly, that connection with people, it definitely changes, you know, your view, how people view you. If, you know, you're out there struggling and you're out there not making money, is, you know, sometimes it's based on the attitude. If you're not making money, you know, you use that day that you're off, you got to make connections somehow. Either you go downtown, you go and start making friends with, you know, people that you necessarily don't talk to every day, and you get out of your comfort zone, because, you know, like, especially with me, I'm in a small town. Like, you have no idea how small this town is. I've made more connections out of town that, you know, I think I have more in my business out of town. But it's definitely a big difference that has made change in my life, because I've done big gigs. Like, I have done major gigs that it's.
Well, okay. Well, that's the next place I was going to go. I mean, tell me about the first, like, holy moly gig that you ever got. I mean, the one that made you go, what?
DJing for Pitbull, Enrique Iglesias at the XO Energy Center down.
How did you fall into that?
Well, this was friends from Texas. I literally had all these friends from Texas that were, part of the DJ culture as well. They started with the breakdancing scene as well, and they traversed into a whole different level of playing the mainstream music and getting radio and all that. And all those friends knew about me. They knew that I was up in Minnesota, and they reached out to me. They're like, "Hey, I need a DJ." That's they can't they couldn't make it. I can't remember what it was, but they couldn't make it to the Minnesota trip, so they asked me, they reached out to me, and they asked me, "Hey, do you want to do this gig?" And this was literally like a week before the show, and I was like, "Okay, sure." And I wasn't really scared or anything. It was more towards I want to bring my family. My family would definitely enjoy this, and honestly, I had the time of my life that night. It's not necessarily because I was DJing or playing in front of thousands of people. It was more because my whole family was able to join me, to be backstage, to comfort me, to be to be able to just have that experience, because to this day they talk about it, and that was definitely a big game changer for me. That made me realize, okay, I think DJing is here to stay for a long time.
So now, having your name attached to that concert tour, did that also now was that all it took to have your name thrown around when other concert tours were happening?
Somewhat here and there. I think I got that. I hired a professional photographer as well to take pictures. And I try not to boast about it, because I'm not that type of. But
that's not. You don't promote. You either got to get a promoter, or you got to do it yourself.
Yeah, I'll put it. I have an EPK, so I'll just put it on there, and I'll just spread it like crazy. I have printouts of it, and I'll let people know, especially when they're hiring for weddings or any type of event. They're like, "Okay, well, what's your experience?" Well, the first thing they see is that picture for that big concert. I'm like, "Okay, you did this concert? Yeah, that was me. Yep." And it gives me that big DJ cred, and definitely. It wouldn't make much of a difference though to me, because as long as I get to play music is definitely what makes me happy, and it doesn't have to be a big crowd like that.
No, I get that. I mean, what are some of the most fun club gigs you've done, whether here in the Twin Cities or Rochester or anywhere in the world?
I think it's like the smaller clubs that, especially like the Latin nights. I don't know, it's so much different, and people don't realize that when you're dealing with like DJing Spanish music, you're dealing a lot with stuff that is live instruments that was recorded, that's not quantized to the software. And that definitely is a big it's when you're using the software, there's no sync to that. You cannot sync this type of music because it will go out of whack. And there's certain features in Serato that allow for you to actually beat match correctly. There's a lot of people think the waveform helps. Like, no, there's more steps to that. There's definitely more levels into mixing, because Serato has definitely helped me out through the years because of that. There's waveform views that people don't know exist that can help with mixing stuff like that. And I think back to your question, it relates to what is the funnest nights that I've done is definitely the Latin nights here in Rochester, especially. We try to host them like small bars. It doesn't have to be big, and the smaller the better, because it just looks more. I don't know. It gives it that feeling where it gets crowded and it looks packed, in this sort of way. But you play all types of music. There's music from all around. There's genres that is definitely a whole nother level, as you've experienced for the Super Bowl. Latin music, there is so much music, and it's universal. Especially here in Rochester, because there's a lot of doctors that are stationed here from just all around the world that are here to practice medicine to take back to their country. And, they want to, have a good time. So they don't really have a place to go to, except, there's bars, play the usual English music. And, I'll get a doctor here and there where, they're from Argentina. And can you play this song for me? I was like, okay, yeah. I'll play their song, and it makes the night, and that's what excites me, is that I'm able to do that for them to feel comfortable, in our venue, and make sure that everybody feels welcome. Not necessarily, we're gonna pick people and kick them out. No, this is pretty much an open format type of thing where it gets people excited. So,
well, and it's an interesting that the niche you have the most knowledge in, or at least you had the most knowledge in when you first started, was around a community that has been growing exponentially in the southern Minnesota area, like crazy. And whether or not you saw it yourself when you started to DJ or not, and even when you were breakdancing, where you probably were, because of your ethnicity, were mixing in those flavors for yourself in and around the breakdance, even though you've got what you have for breakdance. So just that flavor of niche that you're able to share with an audience full of people that doesn't make it, oh well, there's this and then there's that.
Yeah.
You really, if you're going to do something like what you're doing, and because you're so successful, what I'm sure you're doing is finding a way to make it as universal as you're talking about. Yes. Literally anybody can come in and have a great time without worrying about, well, are we going to do this style of music or that style of music? Really about energy and love and joy and excitement. I'm probably paraphrasing a lot about what you're doing, but
it's like I said, it's definitely gotten me to a lot of places that I've never imagined that I'd be. And like I said, it's one of the biggest part of it is just being a humble person, And
do you find that because you are because of your Latin ethnicity, and because you are so good and knowledgeable with the style of music that you're playing and doing the Latin nights, that people niche you into that? Do you know what I'm saying? They wouldn't call you for something else?
Yeah, I mean, I get calls just to do lots of different parties, not just Latin music. And again, that's one of the things that why I came up with the name SupaFly, DJ SupaFly, is because it could be a mixture of everything. And especially here in Rochester, you get a mixture of people. It's going to be all types of people. And when you play, well, especially when I play like at any bars or clubs here, I get to play everything, and they know that being an open format truly means jumping into other genres. So not only am I playing Latin music, I'm playing African music, I'm playing Bollywood music, I'm playing genres from all across the world, and it definitely is. Like I said, it's a big game changer for me, because I understand the music, the Latin music, where it comes, how it's played and how to correctly mix it. Like salsa is probably the hardest one to mix because there's so many instruments in it, and a lot of people can understand, when
different
to drop it.
Different syncopations, all kinds of things.
Yes, it's very, very hard, but once you get it down, it's definitely. And then, like I said, a lot of it goes down to the software, and I think with Serato, it definitely helps with that. And it's one of the teasers that I want to put out there, is that one of the things that I'm going to be teaching for Las Vegas is definitely going to be that is how do you distinguish and when to mix, especially when there's songs that are not quantized, and how do you go into using just your, like nowadays everything's visual, so of course you got to concentrate on the waveforms, but it's an extra help. But how can you combine both, where it's also the audio mixing in your ear?
It's your feel, it's your heart, it's your rhythm, all of those things that we had to do before there was Serato, before there was waveforms.
Yes, definitely.
It's interesting that you still are working that skill when so many young men and women are starting in the world, and it's like they don't know a world without it.
Yeah. I mean,
have you had opportunities because of your expertise and because of the bit of quantifiable fame that you got doing the couple of concerts you did? Have you had the opportunity to be reached out to do things outside of the country?
4th of July, when was it? A couple of years ago, I was DJing for the Royal Caribbean. It was for scratch events. They also hired me. It was many years ago. They're the company based off New York that do a lot of the retail gigs, a lot of those stores, and they like the fact that that turntables. Again, another reason too why, and that's me. I like to mix with turntables, and like I said, it doesn't really matter as long as you know how to use the software. Is definitely, I've mixed in both, but one of the biggest ones that I was out to reach is to definitely mix out in the Caribbean Sea, 4th of July, 2017. So that was definitely a big another big one. So,
well, with the little bit of cred you have now, you should probably talk to some of the guys that are playing the big clubs. When you come to Vegas, talk to some of the talk to some of those guys. Find out who their managers are, because I think the next step for you is probably going to be having a promoter and a manager who can get you into Ibiza, who can fly you around the world, who can take over at Hakkasan for a month while what's his name takes his trip, and wants to go out of town. I mean, if I mean, this is the niche you've created, and this is a beautiful, well done niche. Your energy is great. Your personality is wonderful. I think your next step is a couple of great introductions to the Calvin Harrises of the world. And ain't as tough as you might think, brother.
Yeah, trying. I just made the decision last year to go full-time DJ. Part of that, I'm a full-time dad during the week. We just had a baby, so.
Congratulations! When did that happen?
Well, that was a couple of years ago, and
still though, I mean, that's a couple of years ago. Two-year-old is still like having an infant. Come on.
Yeah. So that's
an infant that can run.
And that literally is what made me change, my mind into the DJ game is, okay, I need to concentrate more on what I'm going to be doing in the weekends, because I have somebody, watch her during the week or in the weekend, and I could literally just train her, do everything that, a good parent would do, I guess. And so I gave up pretty much everything. I was able to not necessarily sacrifice, but to help out. My wife also she went to school, she studied, she's a phlebotomist now, so she's working.
Cool.
Yeah, she literally starts a full-time job tomorrow.
Wow, that's really exciting.
It was a lot of sacrifice, but it's definitely, like I said, it's one of the things that definitely has helped me out, especially having that DJing part of it. Is
well, I've heard this. I think I've talked to thousands of DJs over my lifetime, with the training that I've done and the teaching that I do. And I'm like 115 years old, so I've talked to a lot of people, and usually, and just about every one of them has the same story about when they went, I'm going to start taking this seriously. And it's about the time that it's not necessarily kids or wife, but it is the time that they realize that they are now no longer responsible for just themselves, and that's when they go, oh, adulting, okay. Right. And that, it sounds like that's kind of the epiphany you had as well. I mean, and entertainers, DJs, we're doing this, because it's fun. It's fun. And if you have a gift as well, and you're talented as well, you get to continue to do it because it's fun. And then at some point you still have in the back of your head, I'm going to do this while it's fun, but I'm not going to be able to do this I'm not going to be able to do this when I'm married or when I have a kid. And then if you're lucky, while you're doing something that you adore like you are, you actually entertain the possibility that, can I continue to do what I'm doing and not only make a living, but take care of the life that I'm trying to create for not only myself, but for everybody else. And looks like that's what you did. And most of the guys that try to go full-time or do go full-time, that's their motivation first.
Yeah. It definitely, like I said, it hit me really hard. I'm like, okay, I need to do separate thing. I need to know how to up my game, basically, and with all the credit I've had, with those big shows, and definitely has helped me out. And like I said, I don't like to boast about it, but I try to push it through my EPKs, and I tell people, about my expertise and why I got the name SupaFly is definitely one of the big things that I like to spread out. Is definitely because I can mix pretty much a lot of types of music and make everyone happy, because you're going to experience, and when you're more of a diverse type of DJ or person, where you get to play all types of music, you're going to encounter that, people are going to have a good time because they never heard this song or they never heard that song. And that's what makes you different versus everybody else that's playing the same type of music, where it's all just like, okay, hip hop night. Like, no, you can make it a bit different.
Well, and that, and the fame that you've created, that little bit of cred that you say you have, I will tell you that this striking when the iron is hot right now is really important. And if you're not the kind of person that can toot their own horn, then doing something as big as what you did means, the next investment shouldn't be a new software or new equipment. It should be a publicist, my friend. You should reach out, and I'm not kidding. And you can roll your eyes if you want, but you may not have another shot like this if you don't have a publicist that can push you towards it and use the the fame that you did create, the cred that you did have, to push it out there to those people that'll go, oh, really? Oh, and him. So that there's that next step and that next step. And if you can't do it yourself, and even if you can, honestly, the best way to go is to find a publicist whose job it is to go out there and, not necessarily, monetize that thing that happened to you.
Yeah.
You have a chance now, if, when you get the big thing. I mean, if you still have those connections with the guy who got you the gig, you should be talking to him all the time. You should have him introducing you to the guy who got him the gig. So you can talk to the producer who's going to do the next concert tour for J-Lo coming off of her Super Bowl show. So they're going to have to find a guy. They want to find a new guy. They want to find, there's all kinds of possibilities within that, but in a short window. And that investment of a publicist for a year, I think, would be really a big deal for you, because you got an infectious personality. I think everybody that comes to the DJNTV show coming up in February, they're going to meet you on that Wednesday at noon. They're going to see what you can do. They're going to listen to your what you have to share with them, and they're going to want to know more. And that little bit of who you are is what you need for a publicist to find the crack in the wall to push you through to see if people will jump at. And I think the possibility of you being able to do some regular tours like that, to be a guy who now calls a guy in Minnesota to cover for you, I really think that's something that you should be after. And even if Mr. Humble, you could be Mr. Humble all you want, but Mr. Humble ain't going to get you the thing I just discussed with you, right? You know what I'm saying? You can still be humble and say I'm good.
Yeah. Oh.
You can. I mean, look, you think J-Lo is full of herself? No, she's a humble woman who knows how good she is.
Yeah.
You can be a humble person who knows how good he is. And that's what I see now. So, and this is supposed to be an interview, and I'm sitting here giving you advice. Whatever, brother.
Well, it gives it more of a tease, like I said, towards Vegas, because my presentation is going to be a little different, is because a lot of the part of it is a lot of the DJs don't really know how to use Serato into its full effect. And when I started DJing, I started with virtual DJ, and I kind of know how it runs now. But after that, I had to make the jump into what's the next step, and that's when I started to go into Serato. And with Serato, and I like the whole turntable thing, and being in the Midwest was hard because there's no record stores around here. Definitely, big ones.
There's like two.
Yeah, and
I'm sure you know exactly where they are.
Yeah, you have to drive an hour and a half, 2 hours just to go. And to me, the whole going digital definitely the game changer, because I was downloading music from countries. That helped me out, have the MP3s that I needed to run parties here. And like I said, in this very diverse town of Rochester, where there's a lot of people coming from all around the world. There's patients too that would go. There's literally patients that go almost every Saturday, and they're from Abu Dhabi, and they're used to that. They're used to that vibe over there. And
kings and the queens of this world come to Rochester, Minnesota.
Yeah.
To get their blood pressure checked.
So, the Dali Lama. There's very, very important people that come here.
You get the Dali Lama party. You let me know, because that's the one I'll help you carry a speaker in. That's all I can do. I'm a pretty old dude, but I would love to see you get the Dalai Lama and his people out on the dance floor. That would be really cool to say.
That'd be cool. But yeah, it's the spot we're at it's a brand new hotel. It's a new Hilton hotel. It's right in the center of Rochester, and they got a little bar there, and that's where we do Latin nights. It's a little spot, but still, it's considered one of the biggest Latin nights here, and actually around the area, because there is not on unless you drive up to the cities. So
and even up here, there's not as many of that there really ought to be.
Yeah, and there is a big market out for the Spanish people, especially here. Just people don't know it.
Well, even here in the Twin Cities.
Yeah. There's only one spot in the
and not just Spanish people are dancing to this.
Yeah, it's everybody.
Come on.
Everybody. Like it's crazy how infectious I mean, you don't have to be Spanish. You know how to dance salsa. A lot of people want to.
I don't know how to dance salsa, and I just get in the way. Maybe I shouldn't be dancing salsa. I should come listen and just stay out of the way of the people who know what they're doing.
There's a lot of other types of genres that are easier to dance in. So let's put it that way, because there's definitely a lot of good music out there.
Okay. Thanks for watching out for me, man. Okay, look, well, I want to wrap this up, but I want to be sure that everybody knows that this thing, if you've not met this guy, he's really something. And the presentation that he's going to share Wednesday at noon at the DJNTV show in Las Vegas is going to be very unique and very interesting. And I think you're going to learn a few things about what you can do with as a DJ, much less about what he might be doing, because like he said, he's using software in a way that most guys are just not using it. So, and that's going to be part of what he's going to be going, as well as the fact that you're going to be very inspired to be able to use this knowledge and the personality and the infectiousness he brings to it, to be able to find some possibility in where you want to go with what you want to do next. Now, don't forget, now it's DJNTV.com/tickets. Tickets are still available. There's still pretty inexpensive flights out of the Twin Cities. The last time we checked, I think you can get there under $100 one way. So that's crazy to go to Vegas right now. But if you'd have to do it pretty quickly, because pretty soon those tickets are going to start going up, just because that's the way the airlines work, right? And Tuesday nights are usually the nights that you're going to get the best deal. So if you're listening tonight, go check now. It's February 24th, 25th, 26th, and it ends on the 27th. It's at the South Point Hotel, a great hotel with some pretty inexpensive rates as well. So a pretty inexpensive way to go to Las Vegas and to hobnob with some really interesting people and have a lot of fun and be able to write this sucker off. I mean, come on, guys. There's no reason why not to go now, except that you're just going to sit at home and wonder. Trust me, on the 28th, you're going to be going, oh man, I should have gone to that. You're going to see all of this stuff online. You're going to go, oh my. And in fact, I know a lot of you have done that with every conference that's out there. You've seen it on Facebook and gone, man, I got to go. Well, stop saying that. Just go. And while you're there and while you're checking this out on DJNTV.com/tickets, look into the special classes they're going to have, the Master Mix classes, the Mastermind classes they're going to have. They're very inexpensive when we've got 4 guys that are doing some amazing things, and it makes this value even more. So tomorrow is Wednesday, and I know we got some other presenters tomorrow. That'll be John's going to do that for you tomorrow for this presenter spotlight. But of course, I'm sure I'll see you next week. I'm Bill Herman. Thank you, DJ SupaFly, for being a part of this, and we will see you all in a couple of weeks in Las Vegas. Bye.
Thank you, guys.